And we're live. What's up, everybody? Had a few
Hi.
technical issues, but we're here now, and I got Jeremy Asbrock here
Yeah,
with me. I've never met him before, so I'm going to
we're
get to meet
late.
him with you guys.
Oh, wait. That's actually not true.
Hey, you're actually the only one in the Minefield project that I have really like been around, besides just like a passing through seconds.
Yeah, you can count them on one hand still, but you can still count them.
Yeah, I think we're up to three now.
Yeah,
There was like
that's
a
kind of weird.
10.
I really feel like I've seen you more than that, though.
I
I know
think
it's only
it's
been that many times. It really does feel like.
I think it's just from where we've been friends on social media and everything for 10 plus years now. So we've just always kind of had a front row view to each other. But
That's that, that's an accurate way of putting that.
it is. So I think there was like 10 years between the first time we saw each other, from that first gig with the Shazam in Oak Ridge till I came and watched you guys with Ace in Whitesburg during that.
Well, it was the difference between being a teenager, barely
Almost.
preteen, and being an adult.
Yeah, kind of. Just barely by the mark, though.
It's the difference between not being in high school and being an adult, and having a child and playing in bands, and
It's
doing all the stuff.
been a fun little ride, and the exciting stuff's just now starting to happen. So it's just going to be cool to see what takes place in 2021 for sure. But appreciate you coming on here and giving me some of your time, man.
Yeah, man. Let's yak.
Yeah,
I
all
deserve it.
right. Well, cool. Let's go ahead and start on some of these questions I prepared for the one and only Jeremy Asbrock. So, if you're listening and you don't know Jeremy, Jeremy currently plays with Ace Frehley, the Rock N Roll Residency. He was in Gene Simmons' solo band. He's played with John Corabi. He play. Did I say the Rock N Roll Residency already? I don't know. There's so many things to fucking list off. I already lost track. So. And when I met you, you were playing with a band called the Shazam when I was just a wee 13-year-old boy.
Yeah. So I met them. I met Hans when I was 18, and heard the Shazam demo when I was 19, and it was everything I wanted out of music at that time, which was like heavy Beatle influence, Cheap Trick, and
Oh yeah.
just real 60s 70s type stuff. And I became the band best friend, cheerleader, roadie, whatever. Just wanted to hang around and be around it for 5 years or so. And I was like a budding engineer at the time too. So I was an engineer on their second record, and it was a little too complex for three people to play. So if four people were going to replicate that music, then I was the guy. I was already hanging around. I knew the songs. I could play guitar. I could sing. And yeah, like I spent the next 50 years of my life with that juggernaut after that. And there were the highest of highs and the lowest of lows.
Hey man, some of the best experiences come from those though. So when I saw
Well,
you,
man, the thing about the low lows is yeah, yeah, carry on.
no, I was gonna let you go, man. That you sounded like you were going into something cool, so I'm gonna let you go.
Well, lucky for you, I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, I was gonna say, so when I saw you guys in Oak Ridge, it was the first time we met. For anybody that doesn't know that's listening, I was 13, went down there with a buddy because we had saw the ad in the paper, which actually it was his mom who saw the ad in the paper and suggested we go down there and watch you guys because we play guitar together a lot. And so we ended up coming down, and I think that was right before you guys put out Meteor, which you did with
Yes.
uh, the guy from the Billy Squire albums, Mac.
Yeah, Mac, not just Billy Squire, man. He was the engineer on all the great ELO stuff, and
Okay.
Queen the Game.
Oh,
Actually,
nice.
everything Queen did from the Game through A Kind of Magic, he was producer and engineer on. And man, Sweet T Rex, White Snake, it's the longest list of all of my heroes. It was a great honor to work with them.
And that was your first, like, was that the first album with the band that you were really involved in, like, the entire process with?
Hang on. Ask me that one more time. It sounded.
I was going to say, Meteor, was that the first record with the band that you were involved in, like, 100% of the process with?
Well.
As a player?
No, but that was the first album where I was.
Uh-oh. Oh, shit. Here we go.
Yep, I lost you.
I can see everything fine. Everything's back fine on my end. What about you? Can you see me? Shit.
Not happening. Wait, I can hear you good. I just can't see you.
Let me check the Facebook live stream and see if it's still got both of us on there, because I can see you fine, and I'm on here. Hopefully this isn't a reoccurring theme here. Let me stop my video and reconnect it. What about now? Can you see me?
All right.
Are we back? I can see you.
All right. I can see you.
Can you hear me?
Struggling for audio, though.
Everything's coming through fine on my end.
All right. Well, it's going through your Facebook thing, so if it's coming.
It's coming through fine on the face. It's coming through fine on Facebook as well.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep talking then. So anyway, no, I was involved in every record, you know, whether it be hanging around and singing the occasional backup to engineering the whole album or playing some on, I don't know, like I said, I was band best friend, roadie, head cheerleader. I was just kind of. All right, here we are, and I have video.
Okay, cool.
Too, I can see you. So anyway, no, I was around for everything, just from any capacity, from just hanging around to singing the occasional backup, to engineering the full albums, to playing a little bit, you know. But no, Meteor was the first one where, you know, I came up with my guitar parts and, you know, made up harmonies and stuff. You know, I didn't write anything. That's definitely all Hans.
Okay. You know, still a fantastic album, as was most of the Shazam stuff. That Tomorrow the World record was a big part of my teenage years after I came and saw you guys play that night. So fantastic stuff. So let's kind of dive into your musical beginnings. When did you get your first guitar?
Christmas 1982.
Oh, man.
But that was like my first 6-string guitar. The year before that, me and my brother both got these things called a Star Maker guitar. And, you know, it was about, I don't know, a foot long, and it had one string, it was kind of like an E string. And it had it had a 2-inch speaker. And when you turned it on, it distorted. It sounded like rock guitar. So you can play riffs like Iron Man or God of Thunder.
Nice.
And, you know, but it was only one string. So don't count that as my first guitar, but I guess like technically it kind of was, because I was playing melodies that I kind of knew, and that was my introduction to it. But when I did get my first guitar, I didn't start taking lessons until like 8 months later.
So you did take lessons, though?
You know, oh yeah, definitely. I'm from a town called Smyrna. For those of you who don't know, it's about 20 minutes out of Nashville, which now is just a suburb. But, you know, back in 1982, 1983, it could have been 2 hours out of Nashville. So there was no music store in Smyrna for, you know, to get lessons. So a music store opened in a neighboring town called Murfreesboro. So there's a music store about 15 minutes away, and my mom enrolled me in lessons. I learned basic chords from that guy, and then that store closed as fast as it opened.
Nice.
And then a couple stores opened in Murfreesboro, and one store opened called Chambers Guitars, and Joe Chambers is a bit of a legend here in Nashville. You know, he's the owner, operator, creator of the Musicians Hall of Fame here in
Okay.
Nashville, Tennessee, under the Municipal Auditorium. Lots of great shit in there. He was very important in my formative years. You know, he opened that store, and they were a real guitar store, and they had a guy that was in high school that gave guitar lessons. So he taught all the shit, you know, all of us kids really wanted to learn. And I started going there, and I took lessons there for a few years. And then I was excused from when I was about 14 because he told me he didn't really have much left to teach me, that I just needed to start a band and go out and play and you know, do it. And there's a little bit of the story that I told you I'd tell you later, but you know, I met the guys I wound up with in my first band in high school, and you know, we started playing Nashville, and also same thing that ended as soon as it started.
So when was your first real gig?
My first real gig, like with the band, I was a sophomore in high school. I was 16, and we played a place called the Borough in Murfreesboro. And anybody in the Metro Nashville, Rutherford County area will know the Borough because it's a very popular bar around the MTSU college. But my first, that was my first gig. But to me, my first real gig was at the Cannery, which was our next gig after that one, which was my second gig ever. You know, my little band from Smyrna Laverne's playing the Cannery. That was huge. And then the second time we played, which was a month later, the owner, or no, he wasn't the owner. He booked the show. Was kind of knocked out by all these 16, 17-year-olds that he put us on at 10 o'clock the next time. And the Cannery's fucking packed, man. There was like 700 people there. I'm a sophomore in high school, and I'm like, I fucking made it. Yes.
That's great. So what kind of music were you guys doing?
We broke. No shit.
Very nice. What kind of tunes were you guys doing at these gigs?
One more time. You broke up.
What kind of tunes were you guys doing at these gigs?
Oh man, it was all original.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't covers. Like we were writing our own shit, and I'm not even going to take a lot of credit because I joined the band after most of their tunes were together. You know, it was just two of the other guys that.
Uh-oh. This is the first time this has ever happened like this, Jeremy.
Yeah, man, and on my porch, my Wi-Fi is kicking.
It's all right. It's okay. We're just going to keep powering through it. It's like when you fall and bust your ass on stage. You just get back up and just pretend it didn't happen. Can you hear me good, though?
Right on. So, like I said, I hear you fine. So,
damn it. Shit. Video is gone now. Bear with us, everybody. We're trying to make this work. I hear you, but I don't see you.
damn it.
We need the Jeopardy theme song playing in the background. There we go.
All right.
Perfect.
Okay. So, man, I totally forgot where I was. So let's just start somewhere else.
You said you joined the band and they had already written most of the tunes.
Oh yeah,
other guys in there.
yeah. And all those tunes were kind of together. But like I said, like we played those two gigs at the biggest club in Nashville, and the second one in front of a shitload of people. And I don't know. I guess me and the singer, we had stars in our eyes, and we were we were locked into the Nashville scene like immediately after, and I
Nice.
don't know, I just kind of navigated my way through that for a long time.
Nice. So let's fast forward a little bit back to your time with the Shazam. You actually met Philip Schaus whenever you were playing with the Shazam for the first
Yeah.
time.
So the Shazam had a really, really, really good year in England in 2000. And, you know, like that year started at a really small club, but Liam Gallagher and their new bass player were at the show. So I don't know, it just created this snowball effect of attention, and then magazines writing about us and radio playing us. And like the third time we went there 5 times that year. And the third time we went, we got to do this TV radio broadcast from Abbey Road.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, we were billed above Duran Duran, which is
okay.
dumb at best. And, you know, ended the year playing Earl's Court with Paul Weller. And so British magazines were writing about us, and Philip was really into Oasis at the time, who were really, really big. And like I said, like Liam being at that show inadvertently kicked off the snowball effect that I thought was the band's success. I mean, it needed tunes and all of that stuff, but that initial thing with him being there started it. I can't remember which magazine Philip read about us in. It was either Q or Mojo, but you know, they're writing about this band from Nashville, Tennessee that sounds like the Beatles, the Who, Cheap Trick, the Move, and you know, all this cool British stuff. And Philip lived hour and a half away, Decatur, Alabama, and read about it. Like, what's this band from Nashville? It sounds like this. Fuck, I'm going to check this out. So the next show we played, I see this dude in the front row, and he's got a Kiss Love Gun jersey on, which, man, in 2001 was pretty badass. You couldn't just buy that at Target.
Yeah.
Man. It's like, man, I'm gonna talk to that guy after the show, you know. And you know, I talked to him, and man, 20 years later, he and I have been through pretty much everything together.
I was gonna say, yeah, you guys have been to around the whole world with each other now at this point.
Man, every peak, every valley, you know, marriages, divorces, highs, lows, success, failures. I mean, you know, we've definitely covered damn near everything together.
Do you feel like you guys are kind of like a package deal at this point?
Oh no, not at all. I mean, you know, there are definitely some things we are a package for, like, you know, the residency type things, you know, we haven't been. I mean, you know, we hung around together for 11, 12 years before we ever played a note together. You know, we were just friends, and then came the tribute bands that were just, you know, to kind of fucking bullshit and have fun. And then came the residency, which is bullshit and have fun. And that turned into what it is. And I don't know, then Gene happened, then Ace happened. I mean, none of it was by design. There are some things that were a good package for, and some things that were not. You know, Phil definitely carved a very, very strong path for himself before we ever played a note together. You know, he did lots of for hire stuff when I was just playing with my band for fucking decade, you know?
Yeah.
So no, we're not a package deal. We are a great package, but no, he and I do many things without each other, you know, as much without as we do with. So
of course, and with Philip playing with Accept, and you've got your own projects, and like Minefield now.
Yeah, no, exactly. So like, you know, we have lots of things that we're involved with together that are very strong, and lots of things that we're not involved with together that are very strong. So, you know, no, we're not a package deal, but
I guess this is a great time to tell you that Phil is joining Minefield.
Okay. Well, it wouldn't be the first band we're in together.
And it probably won't be the last either, because you guys just go so well together, man.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see like what else we do together. I mean, when we became friends, I never could have imagined all this happening, but at the same time, like when we became really, 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 really close, I could see this happening.
Of course. So, kind of segueing off that a little, through Phil, you ended up meeting Ryan because they needed a guitarist to play with the Big Rock show at the very first Kiss cruise.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how that first Kiss cruise was might have been different than all of the other ones that you've been on. Was there a different vibe on that very first one?
Absolutely. And I mean, like, and I'm only going to tell this from my perspective personally, because where I was personally was different than all the other guys. You know, I'm sure it was like that for most of us just because it was the first one. You know, for me and Ryan specifically, you know, we are diehard fucking Kiss fans. So like going on a boat with Kiss and seeing Kiss in a small theater and being around that many Kiss fans is mind blowing, you know, on the smallest level, to say the least.
Nice.
So I personally had just gotten divorced. So I was living with Phil, and it's just so weird to me now, like how I'd never met Ryan. Like, how could we have been in Nashville and for that long together and been into the exact same stuff and never met? I just don't know. And I'm also very lucky that, you know, Phil had a gig at the time and couldn't take it. I know he's personally not real crazy about 80s metal, so he didn't know it like I do. Like, joining Big Rock show and playing those guitar parts was hard because I wasn't playing a lot of 80s style guitar playing at that point, and had not been for a very, very long time. But I still knew all those songs, and they were still here. I just had to practice doing them, and it probably would have been a little more work for him. So,
of course,
between the two of us, you know, sometimes there's one gig that's better for one guy, and that one was probably better for me because I knew that material better, and it would have been a little easier for me to learn, probably for him. But that first Kiss cruise was different because I just gotten divorced, and I was living with Phil, and then I met Ryan, and it was like meeting my new fucking family, man. Like, you know, I suddenly like lost my family, and then I had a new one. It just wasn't a wife. It was Ryan at Big Rock show.
That's great.
So after that, like not having a place to live, like pretty much losing my life, I'm on this fucking cruise ship with fucking Kiss and Skid Row and like my new fucking friends. And it was everything a person in my position needed. And then like I got to fucking get closer to Kiss than I'd ever been in my life. And yeah, there's just something very, 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 very special about that first one. That was my first rock cruise. I mean, I've done 23 or 24 at this point, but that was the first one.
Nice. And so at that first Kiss cruise, you guys were playing, I believe it was I Stole Your Love. And
that wasn't the first one. That was Kiss Cruise 4.
Oh wow, my timeline was way fucking off on that then. But we'll still talk about that anyway. So that was still with the Big Rock show, correct?
Yes.
That you were playing with, and you guys are playing I Stole Your Love, and Paul Stanley jumps on stage and steals the mic and sings the second verse. What's going through your fucking head whenever that happens, man?
Holy shit. Holy fucking shit. I am on stage and Paul is singing I Stole Your Love. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't believe this is fucking happening. Holy shit. Oh my God. Don't fuck up the solo.
That's fucking great. And it's even cooler because that's a song that Kiss doesn't even really do that much. Yeah. So
you know, as fantastic as that actual moment was, I like the video more because whoever filmed the one that's out there,
you can see Paul on the side of the stage. At the side of the stage,
yeah. And I can see him thinking about it. He's like,
yeah.
I can just see him pondering it, and
he kind of puts his hand on that guy's arm and like he cuts the conversation off,
yeah. And then you can see kind of the moment he decides, like, I'm going to go on stage and sing. I'm very grateful for whoever decided what the order of bands was, because we were first, I think, and you know, he was right there. I can't remember if he was at the rest of the performances, but being first and opening the show like that with them having introduced the whole thing definitely put us at a good position. And Big Rock Show had been on the cruise every time up to that point, so they knew who we were, and that, you know, we were a pretty decent band. And you know, Ryan had a really good reputation with them, you know, via Doc and just being around their thing for a pretty long time.
Of course. And have you ever got to bring that instance up to Paul, or have you had extended conversations like that with him?
Oh, no. No, I've never really talked to Paul that much. I've been around him for seconds of time on cruises, and we met him at Gene's Vault thing very, very briefly. But I mean, to say I've talked to Paul would definitely be a stretch. I've never really had a conversation with him or anything.
Okay. You know, you got to make that happen one day, because you've got Gene and Ace that you've played with. Now you got to pull Peter and Paul out somewhere.
Well, man, if I can play on stage with Peter for one song, then I've had the entire band.
Yeah. And, you know, Ace has done those interviews here recently where he's talked about, you know, trying to get Peter to play on. He was going to get Peter to play on this past Origins, but he had a shoulder injury and couldn't play drums. So maybe you need to get in Ace's ear if briefly whenever you see him, be like, Peter should come do a song with us when next time we're in Jersey.
Ace can't hear.
That's right. Yeah, of course. You see him in all the interviews doing that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Man, so what an experience, you know, and those videos are great. Just seeing Paul, you know, over there on the side of the stage, and then just coming up there and just taking the bull by the horns. You know, it's I'm sure the people in the crowd were excited to see that, but I had to ask what was going through your head whenever that happened.
Shock, pure shock. I mean, you know, at that point, let's see, that was Kiss Cruise 4. My exposure to them had still been pretty limited at that point. And even at this point, like, I've been around everybody a whole lot, man. Paul's a little shielded, so I'm not around him. And even when I am granted access into the Kiss kingdom, I just don't see him that much.
Nice. And he's the only one that hasn't signed your side 4 of Alive 2. So yeah, we gotta make that happen one day.
It's probably not going to happen. The only way that could ever happen, I probably used up getting my Crazy Nights album signed from a missed opportunity in 1988.
Oh, okay.
It's all right. Who knows? Maybe. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. Nothing's out of the possibility.
It'd be nice, honestly. Out of all of them, I would have considered Peter the wild card.
Yeah.
So I've got Peter's signature. So
talk to me a little bit about that. How did you get Peter's autograph on that?
So before the Kiss Cruise last year, you know, we did our event with Ace. Well, there was another event across Miami, a whole separate pre-Kiss Cruise event, and you know, Peter was the headliner of that thing. And just through, you know, our connections, we got it hooked up where we could get the Ace band over there and our crew, and you know, get a photo made, get some shit signed. And you know, his wife was cool. She helped it, made it happen. And Peter was very nice and very gracious and cool.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah, so if you can get on stage with him, like you said, for even a second, you've been on stage with all 4 original members. How many people can say that? Nobody gets to jam with Kiss.
That's right. Well, I've been on stage with half the band at this point, and you know, there's not a lot of people that can say that either.
Well, 3/4 of the band, if you count Paul jumping on stage with the Big Rock Show.
Yeah,
I counted.
At one time, I played.
Oh yeah. Well, that's happened a couple of times actually, because that first time was at the Minneapolis gig.
Yeah.
And I love hearing the stories from you guys where, especially Phil, where he's like, when Parasite starts, he's like standing right next to the cab, and he's like, that's the riff right there.
Yeah. It's funny though, like when I hear it back, you know, Ace was pretty accustomed to playing at the tempo he had been doing it with his band, but we had been doing it like the tempo of the Alive album. And if you go back and check it out, you can hear Ace start it, and then Brent kicks in, and we start playing it at our tempo, and it's just like we are off to the fucking races.
That's great. That's kind of like the Australia shows when you guys had Chris Williams with you with Gene, and
Yeah.
Chris was playing everything at the correct tempo, I will say. Was a great tour. Talk to me a little bit about how early did you find out that Ace was coming on that tour and that whole thing was happening?
Maybe around late spring. We were originally supposed to tour Australia in February of 2018 and got pushed back. I can't remember why exactly. Maybe something to do with weather. And it got pushed back, and then around spring, the promoter, honestly, I have no idea how it happened, but it was proposed that Ace would open for Gene. They had talked, they liked the idea. Ace had asked Gene if it was okay if he used us, because bringing his band over to Australia for, I guess, whatever he was going to make, I honestly have no idea. It was just going to be more economic for him to use us.
Absolutely.
And, Gene kind of gave Ryan the power, and, Ryan, of course, said yes. And that was kind of how that happened. And I mean, I'd sort of met Ace on stage at that St. Paul thing, but I met him on stage in Adelaide, Australia, too. Like, we did sound check and played the show. Got to know each other later.
Yeah, that's right, because you guys talk about at the Minneapolis gig, none of you had seen Ace that day until the second he walked on stage, which is just absolutely awesome, considering the circumstances.
That's pretty standard.
That was the first time that Gene and Ace had played together in, at that point, 14 years?
Yeah, he was probably there at that, like, I don't know, like, we played a stadium, so God, if he was in his dressing room, it was going to take him fucking 8 minutes to get to the stage anyway.
Of course. Okay, kind of moving on from the Kiss thing a little bit. You play with Mr. John Corabi whenever he does the 94 Motley album out. Talk to me about how you scored that gig with Corabi.
So he lives here in Nashville and just kind of part of the scene here. And, he was sort of my neighbor up until, I don't know, about a year or two ago. Honestly, I can't really remember how that happened.
It happened. That's all.
Oh, you know what? Like, so Phil and I had this conversation because he had this epiphany that, we should do something original together. Everybody at this point had expected it out of us. So why don't we do something? All right, let's get John to sing. So at this point, he and I are thinking, like, we're going to do something and we'll get John to sing some stuff. Somehow, I think that got turned around in his brain, is that Phil and I were going to be his guitar players. So Phil still had his country gig and, like, couldn't do that. And I didn't really have a gig. So, John wanted to kind of redo his rock band, have a new rock band, including his son Ian on drums. And, I didn't have any reason not to do that. It sounded great to me. And we did the first Monsters of Rock cruise. It was just me, and it was John playing rhythm and singing, and Topher Nolan on bass, and Ian, his son, on drums. And while we were driving down there, I know he paints us a different way, but I am going on record right now. This is the first time I've ever said this on record, too. On the way, hey, John, this is the 20th anniversary of Motley 94. Oh, wow, really? And later that year, he decided that, no, let's see, if that was Monsters. Okay, 2 or 3 months later, he decided that we should probably go do that. We brought another guitar player in, Josh Dutoit, say it either way, depending on where you're from. Because we needed another guitar player. John was going to have to sing a lot on that and not play as much guitar, because that's a pretty vocally demanding record.
Yeah.
So that was why we brought in Josh to play guitar. And we, as a band, kind of rehearsed that all summer while John was out touring his Unplugged record. And we started doing shows at the end of the year. And the funny thing is I worked my fucking balls off carving out those guitar parts and harmonies and rehearsing and rehearsing and rehearsing. And then the first gig comes up and I can't do it.
Oh, man. What was that about? Can you talk about that?
I had a previously booked thing with Big Rock Show.
Oh, okay.
You know, one was more money than the other. And if I would have not done the Big Rock Show gig, everybody wouldn't have made that much money. But if I didn't do the John Corabi gig, I could just give Phil my guitar parts and he could go do the gig. So Phil got to do the first 94 gig.
Lucky Phil.
I hopefully made it easy for him. But yeah, I was pretty bummed about that, honestly. Like, I was happy about a Big Rock Show gig is a shitload of fun. And, you know, we got paid well and stuff, but there was still something about doing that much work to go do this thing and then not getting to do the first two shows. But then we did a few more shows, but then he joined the Dead Daisies and that pretty much put the squash on that. But we did some cool shows. And then we made the live record here in Nashville, and that was pretty cool. And, you know, that's a pretty fucking live record.
Awesome. Were you a big fan of that Motley record with him on it when it came out?
Yes, I was. I saw them on that tour, and I even waited in line at a meet and greet, and they were fucking 2 hours late, and it started raining, and I got pissed, and I left.
Oh, man. That's great.
Oh, I love busting his balls about that still.
That's great. So at the gig you were at, are you talking about the meet and greet that you left, not the actual gig, correct?
No, I stayed for the whole gig.
Okay. What was that like? Because I know that they talk about some of the attendance being a little spotty on that tour.
Well, you know, no offense to anyone. So, you know, it was at an amphitheater. It was at Starwood Amphitheater, and they had roped off the grass and gave everybody who had grass passes tickets.
Oh, okay.
I was already good. I worked for a record distributor at the time and kind of got hooked up through that. But no, man, that was not the Motley Crue show that I'd seen. Let's see, what was that? 94. Wow, 4 years earlier.
On the Feel Good tour.
Yeah. And when I saw Vince Neil on his solo album tour, and he opened for Van Halen at the same place, and it was sold out. So the audience that Vince played for was way bigger than the Motley Crue audience.
Yeah, but you got to take into account he was opening for Van Halen.
Van Halen.
Yeah. That's a little different because that place would have probably still been sold out without Vince Neil as the opening band.
This much is true. But man, Van Halen and Vince Neil, even though like it 93 was pretty much the very end of that stuff, Van Halen and Vince Neil together definitely pulled it. I mean, Vince helped. I mean, he was still Vince Neil of Motley Crue then. He was playing Motley tunes with his own tunes scattered in. And Motley didn't come until the next summer, and, you know, it was kind of over by then.
That's funny that the Feel Good tour, was that the first time that you had seen Motley Crue was on the Feel Good tour? That's funny. The first time I ever saw Motley Crue was on the 20th anniversary of the Feel Good tour when I was actually the same year that I met you.
Yeah. I saw them twice too. They came here like early in the tour, and then they came the next summer again. And man, they were fucking awesome. I mean, shit.
Yeah. I will say this.
I was 14 at the first show and 15 at the second one. And
nice. I will say that I saw Motley Crue twice. The first time was on that Feel Good anniversary show at it was in Atlanta at Crew Fest 2, and they played all of Dr. Feelgood from start to finish. And it was a fucking fantastic show. It was Tommy Lee's first show back in like a month because he had like second-degree burns on his hand or some shit. He got up on stage at the like the front of the stage at the end of the show and like had the mic and was talking, and he was like, glad to be back. He's like, I haven't played in a month. He's like, I caught my hand on fire when I was jerking off too fast. And, you know, I'm standing there at 13 with my mom and her boyfriend. Just, yeah, it was a little awkward, but it was still funny. But then fast
Man,
forward
man, if Tommy Lee jerked off too fast, his fucking forearm would look like Popeye.
That's great. It's funny because the second time I saw Motley Crue was on the farewell tour with Alice Cooper opening up in Nashville. And Alice Cooper was, I don't care to say it, Alice Cooper fucking blew them off the stage that night.
Wow. So
That's
you were
funny
in
because
town?
you played that night with Alice Cooper at a residency.
Well, we
correct?
didn't play with him. We didn't play with him.
Okay.
The band took over and played our thing. So like first his band played a set, and then Alice showed up, walked to the stage. They did a set, and then he walked back to his car and left. And then then we picked back up after that. But yeah, man, that's like one of the most legendary shows in the Rock and Roll Residency history. And thank you again, Chuck Garrett.
Yeah, it's funny because the day after that concert, one of my friends posted a link on my Facebook timeline that it was just talking about how Alice Cooper showed up at a bar after his set and played. And like one of the pictures on there was a picture of you. And I commented on it. I was like, holy shit, that's my friend Jeremy.
Chuck had kind of put that together far in advance because he knew that when the tour came through Nashville, they had a day off the next day. So it was really about bringing the Alice Cooper band out to play. So, we'd already had the date together, and, we would play until they showed up, and then they would do their thing, and then we'd pick back up after they were done. And so, Alice Cooper was, from what I remember, kind of a wild card until that day.
That's great. Man, I had never seen Alice Cooper live before that, and his fucking stage show is just fantastic. And of course, his band is great.
Man,
Roxy
he's like Cheap Trick, man. Like those two shows are so reliable, and you can see them over and over and over and over, and not get tired of them because they're so good.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
both acts are my fucking parents' age, my parents' age, and they're still fucking as good as me and my peers.
Yeah.
And you and your peers,
Well, they're arguably better than my peers because I don't really know that many. I don't really know that many people my age that really do this, unfortunately. So, it is what it is. That says what it does about, the whole state of rock and roll nowadays. But that's a whole other rabbit hole that would take up another episode if we start bitching about that kind of stuff. So segueing off onto the Rock and Roll Residency, besides that night with Alice Cooper, what are some of the highlights of the residency that stick out in your head of some of the guests that have played with you guys? What are some of your favorite moments?
Robin Zander showing up with a good buzz and like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, let's do a Cheap Trick song. He's like, let's do Long Way to the Top. All right.
That's great.
Can we do one Cheap Trick song? He's like, what? I'm like, how about Hot Love? He's like, I know that one. I'm like, yeah, all right. That was a particularly good month for the Rock and Roll Residency. He showed up. We did that. So we did Long Way to the Top by AC/DC. We did Hot Love, and we did He's a Whore. And then the next week, Roger Glover and Don Airey came out, and we did some awesome Deep Purple stuff. And then they came out the next week, and we did some more Deep Purple stuff. And then Robin Zander came out the next week again, and we did more Cheap Trick and some Stones.
Didn't he bring Dax with him the second time he came out?
No, Dax came both times.
Oh, okay.
He brought his son with him the second time.
Okay.
And yeah, man, February 2016 is probably the greatest single month in the Rock and Roll Residency history. I mean, Cheap Trick and Deep Purple for an entire month, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I remember you sharing that video like the next day of Xander showing up and doing Long Way to the Top, and I'm just sitting at my computer, just like, just fucking mind
Well,
watching this shit.
yeah, it was like that collectively on stage. Everyone on stage was feeling that exact same thing at that moment. I mean, you know, since those guys are all like the biggest star, like obviously when Gene came, look, man, I've been playing Nashville my entire life. And, you know, I told you I did that gig at the Cannery in Nashville, and the
Yeah.
Mercy Lounge, where the Rock and Roll Residency wound up, is in the same building. And, you know, when we did the one where Gene came out, I'm looking at this line, and it's all the way up the street to Cummins Station. And I mean, like, I was getting choked up, just like, wow, this wasn't even, first of all, this wasn't even supposed to be a thing like this. Like, April 2014. Fuck, I don't have anything going on. Hey, Phil, what do you got going on? I don't really have much going on. Hey, man, you want to like find somewhere to do a residency for a month that we could just play shit from our tribute bands? Yeah. And then, you know, fuck, 4 years later, that was that. And like looking at that line up the street, and it was at capacity. And when they let everybody in, there's still a huge line. Like, wow, really? For my fucking show? No way.
Had the word gotten out that Gene was going to be there that night, though?
Yeah, you know, we kind of leaked it a little bit because he was coming here to rehearse with us, but we still weren't positive he was going to commit to that. And then, you know, he committed via email, but that doesn't mean shit, really.
Yeah.
You know, if Gene Simmons changes his mind at that very second, you know what? I don't feel like going. Well, guess what? He's going back to his fucking hotel.
That's
Second.
great. Oh, you're good?
Sorry, my house alarm was going off for some stupid reason.
Somebody's just breaking in. It's no big deal.
So anyway, when he like actually committed, then I leaked it. You know, I can be honest now. You know, we have people at the Nashville scene and stuff like that. We leaked it that day. But even then, you don't have a guarantee. Like, that's just the thing that people didn't really understand about having, you know, famous people and guests and stuff like that. If they change their mind at the last second, you know, I know we might have promoted it, but, you know, at that moment, they said they were coming. But if they change their mind at the last second, there's not jack shit we can do about that.
Yeah.
And even backstage, it's like, you know, we hadn't discussed what we were doing with Gene. It was just like, you know, all right, let's go do something. And he does this bullshit. He goes, money. And Phil goes, come on, man, let's go do Deuce and shout it out loud. Come on. And then he's like, all right. And yeah, it was fucking badass.
Yeah, I've seen the footage.
I've never seen, like, you know, I've seen a lot of the live shows, but that was like, that was magical.
Yeah, I've seen the footage of you guys doing Deuce with him, and the crowd just seemed to be going fucking ape shit while y'all were playing, man.
It was insanity. It was fucking on fire. It was great.
Well, I mean, how many times opportunities do you get to see like Paul or Gene in a more intimate setting like that besides the Kiss cruise? So
that part was really cool about it, but also just for us, like, we didn't get to do a Nashville show with Gene. Like, that was the only one. And, you know, for us, playing with Gene is like winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're supposed to have done that Bike Week show, which is outside of Nashville, and that was going to be our Nashville show. But, you know, that's kind of my only regret of the Gene Simmons band, is that we never got to play a Nashville show. I'm glad we got to with Ace. I mean, seriously, man, that was like winning the Super Bowl, like getting to play for my mom, who has seen me play live one time since I was 16, and her seeing that and supported my endeavors my whole life, you know, including, you know, all the Kiss stuff she bought for me. Getting to see that was fucking awesome.
That's great. So I know you've told the story a billion times about how the Gene thing happened with Gene asking Ryan to have lunch with him and so on and so forth with that. So I won't make you retell that story. But so before that first rehearsal with Gene, had you ever met him up until that point?
A handful of times, a couple times on the cruises. You know, the first time I met Gene was in 1988 when I was, let's see, I was almost 13. So I wasn't even 13 yet. And it was at a Crazy Nights in the store.
Nice.
And, but I guess that doesn't really count. So, yeah, just a handful of times over the cruises. You know, I don't think he would remember me personally, but he knew Big Rock Show, and I played guitar for Big Rock Show. So I wouldn't say knew me, but at least had some sort of familiarity with who I was.
Of course. Okay. Give it a second. I'll let you pop back in. Video went away. We're just going to bear with it, ladies and gentlemen. Let Jeremy pop back on here in a second. Until then, I'm going to do some juggling. Juggle these water bottles for y'all till Jeremy pops back up. All of them, even the empty one. Oh, Jeremy, disappearing on me. Did your phone die? We're just going to rename this the Technical Difficulties Show. We were getting some good stories, though. That was a good run. That was like 45 minutes of solid stories before that happened. I'm sure I'll get a text from Jeremy in a second saying something happened. But until then, we're going to ride it out until Jeremy pops back on here. But it's already 10 o'clock here over on the East Coast. So, you know, if that was to be the final part of the episode, that's okay because we got some good stories out of that. I'm satisfied with what we got from Jeremy. And I'm sure it's not going to be the last time Jeremy's on here. So we'll just pick up on part 2 whenever we do it. So I think Jeremy is out for the count right now. So I thank all of you for tuning in and listening to us tonight. It was a lot of fun. So tomorrow I got Mr. Philip Schaus from Ace Frehley, Gene Simmons, the Rock N Roll Residency, John Corabi. Oh wait, Jeremy's popping back in, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Let's see if we can get this. There he is. I was kind of suspecting that your phone died, and I was starting to wrap up the show.
But no, fuck that. I was like, fuck this. I'm gonna go get the computer.
Okay, great. Maybe it'll the connection might be better on this. Who knows? So, cool. I was like, well, I was just saying into it. I was like, we got to have part 2 now. That's just a better excuse to do another interview with Jeremy. But we can just fucking pick up right here.
Let's keep going. Now, where was I? I did forget where.
Talking about Gene, you had met him a few times before that first rehearsal.
Oh, right. And so yeah, just a couple times through cruises and stuff like that. But you know, he was familiar with who I was, but you know, no, it was like meeting somebody for the first time.
That's great. So your personal favorite, I want to know top 3 songs that you got to play with Gene on that tour. And I know that's a long list because you guys did, 76 different songs on that tour?
It was like 60-something, but I'm going to put Got Love for Sale real high on that list. Got Love for Sale, Charisma, and honestly, Radioactive. God, I love playing that. Like, all those songs hadn't really been brought to the people a lot. I could probably replace Radioactive, but Charisma and that was really cool. Got Love for Sale. That was good shit to bring to the people.
Got Love for Sale is fucking great. I love watching those videos of y'all playing that because y'all.
As a fan, man, if I was out in the crowd as a fan, I would have been real happy.
Yeah.
What was going down, you know?
Well, I'll say this. Got Love for Sale is one of my favorite Kiss songs. And I fucking love the part right before the choruses with the shadowing "Oh No's."
Yeah.
And dude, y'all fucking killed that so well. That was it sounded great. And
yeah, I felt good about it when it was going down. I was just like, man, if you're a fan and you're hearing this, like, I know you're digging it because I'm digging it a lot.
You guys did a lot of cool shit right off the bat at that first gig in Cleveland. You guys opened with Radioactive. You did Got Love for Sale that night. You did Almost Human that night as well, which
only happened because we were playing that at sound check when he walked in and he was just like, hey, let's do this tonight. Like, okay.
That's great. Yeah, I love how Gene he was so willing to take those risks with you
Man,
guys.
Gene definitely had a residency spirit about him, and what I mean when I say that is, like I know people are listeners that didn't come to our Nashville show, and they know the one we took out, but man, we did a lot of different material, and we didn't rehearse, so there was a huge fucking margin for error, you know, and you kind of just didn't worry about that, and you just go for it. And Gene had that spirit about him. Like, do you have lyrics for me? Yeah, I got a lyric sheet for you. Well, okay, well, let's do it. It didn't take much for him. If you had a lyric sheet, the music's here somewhere, and man, he had big balls. He'd go for it. And
What's one song that you didn't get to do with him that you wish you would have?
Love him and leave him. I carried around that lyric sheet for the whole tour. Two 2 years almost, and we never really did it. I wanted to do Larger Than Life too, because man, that's like one of my
That's so crazy that you guys
Kiss
didn't
songs.
Do Larger Than Life.
Man, he thought it was kind of slow and plodding. He just didn't really feel like it.
There's a video of them doing that on. I think your audio went out for a second, or I lost your audio. It doesn't say you're muted, but I can't hear you. I'll talk for a second. There's a video of Kiss doing Larger Than Life on one of the Kiss cruises a few years ago, and I think it was the first time that Kiss had ever done it before, and Gene totally kind of butchered the lyrics on it. So we have to thank Jeremy for, carrying those lyrics around. I think your audio's coming back in for a second. I heard it. Say something. He's thinking. There we go. I can hear something. There we go. I can hear you.
All right, we're good. Okay.
The universe just wants to keep fucking this episode up, man. I don't know what's happening, but it's okay because we're just going to power through it because we're fucking pros. Actually, I don't consider myself a pro at this whole podcast thing. I'm
I don't know. You're doing pretty good. We haven't had any dead air. We keep moving, so.
Yeah. Anytime it gets disconnected, I always just keep talking anyways. So, because I put the audio on Spotify and iHeart and Apple Podcasts, so not everybody's getting the visual part of it. They don't get to look at just two awesome rock stars just sitting here, man. So we were talking about Larger Than Life right before that happened. There's a video of Kiss doing that on a cruise a few years ago, and Gene totally butchered the lyrics.
And they did that after we were already touring together. Like, it's just like.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, though, I think that was the same show where they did Wouldn't You Like to Know Me? So maybe it was just because they were pulling shit. Well, fuck, Larger Than Life wasn't Gene's solo shit. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Yeah. So yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
It still pulled pretty hard for that song, and it got rejected. And pretty much that one, Rockin' in the USA and Love 'Em and Leave 'Em were the only songs that got rejected that I was like, oh man, come on, we should really do these songs.
I can kind of see Larger Than Life as kind of dragging a little.
Slow and dragging.
Yeah.
I can too. That's why I didn't push that hard for it, especially since there were so many that he went for so easily. Like, wow, really? You said yes to that?
We're like an hour and 15 into this episode, so I don't think it'll be spilling too much information. That's one of the tunes that Phil's playing with us at Kissmas next weekend.
Which one?
Larger Than Life.
Oh, right on.
He's doing that one and All American Man with us. Because as you know, we're passing the bass around for our set.
Yeah.
And you're actually going to be jamming some tunes with us. I'm not going to say, but I think you're doing 2 or 3 with us. So
that's right.
Yeah, it's going to be cool because I was talking to Neil about it the other night. Some of the most fun times I've ever had playing music are kind of those just spontaneous kind of jam feel moments, where it's like there's not as much pressure. Yes, the whole thing is being filmed and Eddie Trunk's hosting it and all this, but it's it's kind of us. We just put together an awesome Kiss set, and we got some of our buddies just coming up there to help us play them. So I'm super excited about all of this.
Yeah, this is going to be like a pint-sized version of what the cruise is like. There's going to be so much fucking Kiss that you're going to be sick of Kiss when you go home.
I am so fucking excited
Man,
for this shit that I can't
honestly,
stand
man,
it.
all these expos.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Fucking men from the boys.
All right, cool. You're back in. You kind of lost for a second, turned into a robot, but that's okay.
I was just saying, man, all these cruises and events separate the men from the boys, man. Like, I always thought I was a huge Kiss fan, but I learned that there are Kiss fans that are way bigger than I am.
Oh, it's like it's 24/7. That's what consumes their lives, and I think that's awesome. Personally, it's as you can see, I've got all this crazy Kiss shit behind me, and my collection
Okay,
is.
so that's kind of like one more thing to drive home about that first cruise, man. It was like, since that was the first one, and man, I've been to a Kiss Expo or two, none of the official ones, but like, you know, there've been some around here in Nashville that had happened. It was kind of like my people, all of my people on a boat. It's all of my people.
That's great. That's great. You know, because when you meet other people that are as big into Kiss as you are, you know, it's kind of like meeting one of your best friends that you've never met before.
And man, they were from all over the world, man. And like, you know, I've got lots of friendships that exist to this day because of that cruise that, you know, span the entire globe.
Of course. And I'd hopefully when everything kind of goes back to normal, you know, the Kiss cruises will continue. And I've got to make my way on one of them before Kiss calls it quits. So looking forward to trying to make that happen in the near future. So we'll kind of segue off of Kiss for a second and back into you and Phil playing together in the Rock N Roll Residency. So you guys put out a record over the summer through Dave Ellison's label, EMP label group.
Yeah,
And
man, it's the record is as accidental as the show. Like, we never planned on having a weekly show that ran that long, and we never planned on making original music either. But you know, we, in a weird way, we sort of got bullied into it by being offered studio time.
that's great. And the record sounds great. Michael Wagner did a fantastic job on that. Sonically, it sounds fucking awesome, I think.
Not just that, but for like being the encouraging factor. You know, Mike was coming to all of our shows, and you know, we've worked with him on various things over the years, and he's just kind of a local fixture here and a friend, and was just encouraged. Hey, let's make some noise. Like, shit, I guess we better write some songs.
That's great. So that's one thing I wanted to ask about those songs that are on the Residency record. Did you and Phil write all of those together, or did you guys kind of bring the songs you sang yourselves to the table personally?
No, it kind of happened all different ways. So like the first song on the record is a instrumental. I'd written the chords to that, and he wrote the harmony melody thing. So, you know, that's pretty much a 50-50 collaboration. That's one we worked on together. Like, we never sat in a room together. It was kind of just send the other guy an idea.
And you got to
And
give your son a shout out for the very first vocal on the album.
yeah, actually, I got to give Phil the shout out because he's the one who thought that it would be a good idea to call the song that after hearing that. So that wasn't really my idea.
That's great.
And so like the first song that actually has words and stuff, man, that's something I've had for a long time. Like that was something that I wrote when I was 21 that evolved into something else that might have been for the Shazam, but never really wound up being. And, you know, that's something that, and a former bandmate of Phil's, Liam Bailey, wrote a lot of lyrics to that. He and I wrote the lyrics together on that. Liam wrote a lot on that. Liam co-wrote the next song with Phil, Till the Real Thing Comes Along.
A fucking great song. I love that.
That's their song. They wrote that one together. I Come Alive, I wrote with Matt Farley, who was a regular in the Rock and Roll Residency. And the next one, This Is Heaven, But You Can't
Yeah,
Come In Yet. That's kind of a me and Phil collaboration. I'd had the riffs for the verse and the chorus.
another
And
fantastic tune on the record. The whole record's fucking great, man. And I'm not just saying
that
that.
that that, that one's kind of one of my favorites because I don't know that I feel like the lyrics tell the story and you can like visualize all this stuff as it's happening. And Liam Bailey wrote the lyrics for that one also.
Yeah, on my first couple listen throughs, that was my favorite track. And
I
it's
got an awesome video in my head for that song. Whenever social distancing
I
is
know
over
you've mentioned this before,
and I can
so
make that video, it's gonna be fucking killer.
I'm excited to see that come to fruition.
And let's see, the next song, "Don't Push Me."
I,
I
lo-
wrote that one with
I love
I
the
wrote that
like
one with
pan
Judd.
guitars on that. That is fucking great.
So I'd had that idea laying around for when Phil and I first decided to start working together, and that story that I'd mentioned earlier. And at that point, we had just kind of started sending riffs back and forth, but nothing had ever materialized. So one of those, Judd and I wrote together, and man, I was like writing lyrics in the studio as I was singing it.
That's great.
I'm not really a lyric man, like.
Uh-oh.
I don't songwriter. I can cool riffs and put some tunes together. I'm probably a better arranger than I am at writing words and melodies and stuff. I can, but I'm just not great at it. You can be good at it, but not great at it.
And while we're on the subject, we got to give Mr. Alex Kane a shout out for helping you with the lyrics on "So Help Me" for the new Minefield record.
So yeah, that's kind of a very, very good example. Like that the chorus part of that came so quick.
Yeah.
I had the words, and I didn't know what they meant. Like I had the words and the melody. I'm like, I don't even know what this is about, but it's about something.
That's great.
When I thought I figured out what it's about, I told Alex, and he helped me with some words and some verses and stuff like that. And that's actually like kind of an honor for me. And I'm going to tell you the story of when I met Alex Kane.
That's what I was going to ask you right after this. So yeah, it was perfect.
So let's see. I was 16 years old, and it was at that club, the Cannery, where my band had played, and it was like kind of the club in town. So I was hanging around. At that point, I was band best friend and roadie for this other band. It wasn't the Shazam yet. So they were on the bill that night. So we showed up to sound check, and there's like this national act on stage, because it's not usually a national act. They got like fucking amps and shit on stage, and we find out they're from Chicago. And like I mentioned earlier, I was fucking huge Enough's Enough fan. They were my fucking band at that time. So this band is Life, Sex, and Death.
Yeah.
And they're on stage doing their sound check and stuff. They're from Chicago, and we're down on the floor, and they're on stage like, "Oh wow, hey man, do you guys know Enough's Enough?" And he looks at me so seriously, like, "We hate those guys." Like, I love it. From Alex Kane, that's the greatest quote in the world. "Enough's enough. We hate those guys."
That is fucking awesome.
Fucking fantastic. And we came back later for the show, and I go in the bathroom, and there's this dude that looks like a fucking homeless guy cowering in the corner, and like, went out like, man, there's a homeless guy in the bathroom or something. And then later, dude just kind of hobbles out on stage, and we're like, holy shit, that fucking guy's on stage.
Oh no.
And then he starts playing ukulele, and we're like, what the fuck is going on here? And then the band starts feeding back, and the drums are just kind of crashing in and shit. And then they come in, and the dude starts dancing like James Brown and singing awesome. And I swear to God, even if I did not know you, Alex Kane, that's the best club show I've ever seen in my life. Like, I didn't know who they were. Nobody knew jack shit about them because their record had not come out yet. And it was just like, oh my God, what is happening right now?
That's fucking great.
I love all of these songs. This homeless guy dances like James Brown. The drummer twirls his sticks better than Tommy Lee. What the fuck is happening right now?
That's fucking great.
So they came back after their record had came out that next fall, and they played here 2 nights in a row. One night they opened for Saigon Kick when Love Is On the Way was big, and
nice.
That was actually a pretty big show. But you know, I met Alex a couple times when I was 16, 17, and you know, he's pretty cool. And
so then have you guys always stayed in touch?
So no, not really. Like, we didn't get to know each other that night. We met him, and Life, Sex, and Death were fucking awesome beyond belief. And I didn't really meet him until 2005.
Okay.
Because he was in a band called Anti-Product, or Anti-Product, however you say it. And they wanted to call their album Tomorrow the World. And then he found the Shazam, and we're a Cheap Trick band, and he's a Cheap Trick guy. So it was just like, who the fuck are you guys? Hey, everybody. Hey, it's nice to meet you. Hey, it's nice to meet you too. And I was touring with a band called Morningwood, who were on Capitol at the time. Oh, me and Phil could give you Morningwood stories, but that's a whole nother conversation. So I was in LA a lot at the time, and he was living there. So we just hang out. Yeah, man. After that, we stayed in touch because that was around MySpace time. So, like, you know, it was easier to stay in touch with people via social media because social media was actually a thing by then.
Yeah, that would have been the MySpace days, right?
It was absolutely MySpace.
That's great. MySpace, the forgotten world. I was thinking about the other day. Somebody brought MySpace up, and one of the things that always come to mind when I think of MySpace is when the Shazam released So Awesome, the first single off of Meteor. You posted it on my wall on Facebook, or not Facebook, MySpace. You posted the link to it. And I just remember being like, holy shit, Jeremy posted on my wall, because I was still like 13 at this point, and that was not long right after we met. So it always sticks out in my mind as a big MySpace memory for me.
Well, since social media was such a young thing at the time, that was actually like the role I had in the band was, you know, looking after some of that stuff, and then it became bigger, and I was not put in charge of looking after that. More professional people were.
Dude, MySpace was. It's crazy how big of a medium that was back in the day when you put it in comparison to, like, yeah, more people probably use Facebook nowadays, but the exposure you could get on MySpace if your shit started taking off, especially with like the top songs on your profile.
You could get a fucking record deal on that alone, like bands were. We went through that, like, you know, we were like a fucking legit band that had legit stuff, but, you know, if you don't have this many were they called friends? What was MySpace? What were
they were friends on
friends? Yeah. Friends. If you didn't have this many MySpace friends, and, you know, like, you know, it's just like Spotify's the new fucking MySpace. If you don't have this many fucking Spotify listens and followers, then we can't even take you seriously.
Yeah.
You know? I had a fucking actual, oh God, what was that guy's job? So he was like one of Chapel or Warner publishing companies, and, you know, we were all getting hammered together, and, you know, he said that's kind of what they do, and he wasn't happy about it. You know, they look at Spotify listens and Spotify followers, and if they don't have that, then they can't even pay attention. It's like, well, that fucking sucks.
That's great. Yeah, MySpace was a fucking force back in the day.
Honestly, man, I don't mind being 45 now, because, like, that's not my world. I don't give a flying fuck about it, and I don't have to.
That's great. Fuck yeah.
It's a lot to keep up with, you know, like it can be a bit of a downer, and I don't know.
Social media can be a bitch sometimes, man.
it's a lot of work, and they keep inventing these new ones, and it's like one more that you got to keep up with. And
Yeah.
you know, like we've only got so much time, and then when you're the adult world, like children, it's even less. And fuck, I mean, like is your worth as a musician or performer based on your social media output? You know,
Sometimes.
I'm very aware of the fact that, you know, out of the talisman, I'm probably the least active, but you know, at the same time, I'm the only one with 2 kids, and having 2 kids in a pandemic is a lot of work.
Yeah, hell of a time to have the second baby, which congratulations as well
Thank
on
you.
that. You
Well,
know.
and it's not just a baby, you know, like virtual school. Like
Oh yeah, man.
goddamn, I never knew I was going to sign up to be a school monitor.
Yeah.
That's not very fun for a musician, but it is what it is, and
Yeah, you need to when tax time comes here in a few months, you need to hit the school up and ask for a W-4. That's for all the work you've been fucking doing for them, which, you know, it is what it is. Hopefully everything will be back to normal in the near future. So, you know, luckily my kid's like just not quite to the age of being there doing that shit. So I don't have to worry about the virtual school stuff. So.
You know what, man? That is one thing I like about Minefield. Every guy in Minefield has kids, so everybody can relate on that level. And you know,
Well, Todd's are all grown now.
yeah, but he still had to go through it. Like he has kids, and he's been through kids, and he knows, you know, kind of what that's about. You know, sometimes if you're out there and you're the only dude with the kid, you know, you sort of feel like the lonely soldier, and nobody really understands.
Yeah, I'm the youngest one in the band, and I've got, well, I was going to say up until you had your newest child, I had the youngest kid. So,
Yeah.
But now you've got me beat on that. You're no longer just the old man.
See, old men can have kids too.
You're telling me what? Fucking Mick Jagger had one like 5 years ago, didn't he?
Yeah, that's insanity. Yeah, but he's
Yeah.
got the bank account. He can just afford a nanny.
He can also afford probably 7 or 8 new hearts whenever his starts crapping out on him. Cool. So we're gonna fast forward a little bit to nowadays. You're playing with Mr. Ace Frehley, Space Ace, and I've got the awesome picture disc behind me, which I haven't opened it yet, or I would be displaying the part of the disc that your face is actually on. So before you actually joined Ace's band, when was the last time you had seen Ace live?
I saw him here in Nashville in 2009.
Okay, Anomaly.
Yeah, so Phil and I went to see him together.
Nice.
That's what's really funny about that. And he kicked ass that night. He was fucking awesome. Here's a funny story about earlier though. I showed up at sound check, and the door to the Wild Horse, they played at the Wild Horse Saloon. The door was open, so I just walked in and walked straight to the stage, and I was just kind of standing there, and his tech was around. I'm like, "Hey man, can I have a pick?" And he gave me a pick.
That's
Well,
great.
that tech was Rocco. That was the same tech that he has now. So Rocco gave me that pick.
That's
Thanks,
awesome.
Rocco.
That
Thanks
is
for not being
fucking
a
great.
dickhead. So after that, I went around behind, and I had my solo album, my Ace Frehley solo album, and there were 2 other dudes waiting behind the place with me. And then a van pulls up, door opens, Ace walks out, and I'm not kidding. Ace does this and walks to the van and sits down in the van, and he's just sitting there. And it's just 3 of us. And we're just kind of standing there. Ace is in the van, and then his band walks out, and you know, Scott Coogan was in the band still at the time, and Anthony Esposito and Derek Hawkins. Hey, Derek. And they all talked to us and were cool as fuck, man. Like all those guys like hung out and talked to us, and Ace is still sitting in the van.
Oh, that's great.
Like literally 8 feet away.
And you guys can see him just sitting there.
Yeah, and it's just three of us. It's not like a bunch of dudes with a bunch of eBay shit. It's just nerds like me wanting their fucking Ace Frehley record signed. And yeah, so I really appreciated his band stopping and being cool. And, you know, me and Derek are still very good friends to this day.
That's
And
great.
so they want to get my
So speaking of Anomaly, Mr. Anthony Fox mastered that record, and
Yes, he did.
Anthony Fox just mixed and mastered our entire Minefield record. So that's a cool little connection. That the last time you had seen Ace live was on that Anomaly tour.
Yeah,
which
actually,
it's crazy to think.
Didn't Anthony mix some of that too? I thought he had mixed some of that also.
I don't know if he might not. I'm not sure if he mixed it. I know for sure that he mastered the entire record, but I mean, I wouldn't put it past. I've got the record hanging up here on the wall. I'll have to look at the linear notes after we get off of here. But I mean, it wouldn't be out of the question that he might have done a song or two on there. A pretty solid Ace solo album. Where does Anomaly sit with you?
I love it. I thought it was pretty good. So it and Sonic Boom had come out with within weeks of each other at the time.
Do you feel like that shit might have been planned with both camps? Because
I don't know, playing with both camps, but I would say both camps were very aware of what was going on. I mean,
because you got to think, Kiss hadn't put shit out since Psycho Circus. Well,
man,
yeah,
all
Psycho
those guys
Circus
still have a lot of mutual people. You know,
yeah.
they know what's happening.
I mean, for sure, they definitely knew that each of them were putting something out. And
so I did like Ace's record a lot. You know, it was long. You know, that was the one thing about the 90s and the 2000s. You had the CD, which had more time on it, so you could fit more material, and people filled it up then. And,
sometimes that was good, and sometimes that was bad.
Man, most of the time, it was a lot of work to make it through a whole record. Like that's why I prefer like 70s and early 80s records. You know, like 9-10 tunes. You know, you can get to know the whole album really well. So what I had done at the time was I took off all the songs on Sonic Boom that I didn't like, and I put the Ace songs on there, and it was like what would have been a really good 2009 Kiss album, you know?
What were the songs that you took off of Sonic Boom?
I can't remember Sonic Boom, but I can remember I put Outer Space.
Outer Space is fucking great, man. I would love to see Ace do that one.
Yeah, I'll tell you the only trouble with that one is that drop D tuning. He'd need one more guitar for that.
I know, because it just takes forever to tune down to drop D.
You know, because what we do, yeah, but Ace doesn't have a tuner on stage.
You don't need it. Who needs a tuner for drop D? You just
man, that's not pro. You can't do that.
Oh man,
that's not very professional.
Oh god,
Ace Frehley cannot go out there and
oh, that's right, because he can't hear that well, so he'd probably end up doing it for like 30 seconds.
To get it to perfection, you know, like I wouldn't support that either. It would take the extra guitar, because you gotta be fucking fast and pro. You can't.
Well, see, I guess I'm just an asshole, because I would totally just.
Yeah, but not if you were an icon, my friend.
Oops. That's
all
right.
I've done that too. I'm not afraid to do it too either. But I understand why Ace Frehley cannot find perfect. and you know, we're a full step down. So
shit, that literally just popped in my head, like right as you were saying that. Yeah, holy shit. That's
pitch, and then after that's over,
that would actually be kind of fucking rough. Yeah, being down a whole step and then dropping down again. That's a lot different than being in like standard and dropping down to actually D.
More that brings down the energy of a show than trying to tune down and then tune back up. All right, we're going back up now. Let
alone now that there's fucking 4 guitarists on stage, so all 4 of you would be simultaneously trying to do that at the same time.
Got a tuner. Ace doesn't have a tuner.
You should buy him one.
Have you seen him walk? I have trouble walking.
I think it's weird that that's not in the set.
You know, I play that. I play anything Ace wants to do, man. Like, it's pretty much up to Ace. You know, we can lob shit out there for him, and sometimes he bites and sometimes he doesn't. You know, all of us really like playing stuff. And you know, it's kind of up to Ace, man. Ace is a little bit of a creature of habit. Not that that's bad, because, you know, we get locked into our set. You know, we're
Of course, and it's a good set. It's
pretty
yeah.
fucking slamming. And you know, that much like Gene, you know, we've taken songs out and put them in. And there's one thing that used to really bother me, though, last year when we were kind of touring, you know, Spaceman. You know, we did 4 songs on that album, and at any given point, we were doing 2 songs from the album in his set. And man, there's just so much bitching going on about, you know, all the classic stuff we were doing, and Ace not doing current stuff. And, you know, like I said, anything Ace wants to do, we're there. We're gonna do it.
And you got to play the solo on Mission to Mars.
Yeah, you know, Ace was just throwing me a bone, trying to be cool to his new band, and, you know, I appreciated that very much. But, you know, we did for a heritage artist who relies, you know, mostly on stuff they've done in the past to, you know, go out and keep touring and stuff, to do 4 songs off your new album in 2019. I kind of thought we were doing his current career a lot of justice, you know, like 4 tunes off your new album within the year. That was, and 2 shows at any given time, or 2 songs at any given time. That was kind of a lot to give to a new album for, you know, somebody like Ace, who has a career that long and so much ground to cover. You know, like, I really felt like we were out supporting Spaceman, because we played a lot of shit off of it. We played more songs off of Spaceman than we did the 78 solo album. You know, we were doing Rip It Out and
Snowblind.
And Snowblind, yeah. And New York Group. So 3 songs. And we did 4 off of you know, Spaceman.
Yeah, and then of course you guys eventually got to do the entire 78 solo album, which is,
man, I really wish we could have done that a lot more, because we really did rehearse that. We did 2 days of rehearsal, and, you know, that show went well. You know, it obviously, if we would have done more shows, it would have been even better, because we were doing it in a hotel ballroom with.
And weren't you like fucking deathly sick leading right up to that gig?
If anybody has diabetes, there's a thing called diabetic ketoacidosis. So when your blood sugar gets too high, long story short, you wind up with acid in your bloodstream. It can shut down your organs and kill you.
Jesus.
So, you know, at the time, I thought I had food poisoning, but now that I look back at it in retrospect, because I wound up in the hospital because of diabetic ketoacidosis about 3 weeks later, you know, my blood sugar was in the 400s.
Okay, so this was right around that time period. I remember that.
I was probably in the early stages of DKA. And when I look back at the footage, and I can't even tell I'm sick.
Yeah, no.
And what I felt like I was literally throwing up every 5 minutes an hour before that. It was the most miraculous recovery from anything I've ever had in my life, just to perform. And it's pretty amazing. And I knew it was a big moment for Ace, because Ace had never played this album, the entire album, for people before. And man, I didn't want to be the reason I got fucked up. So, you know, with the medication that I was prescribed and every fucking ounce of will I had in my body, yeah, man, it actually went pretty good.
And that's one of the cool things from you go look at the comments from those videos. There's literally people that are like, I never would have thought I would have got to see some of these songs live.
I challenge anybody to tell me I'm not professional. If anybody had any fucking idea how I felt playing that show, man, I'd probably be paid extra.
And you got to sing Ozone at that show, which, man, That is one of my favorite Ace songs ever. That is just a killer.
And that's it, man. That's like one of the most, fucking amazing thing that's ever happened. Like if you would have told me 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago that I would be the guy singing Ozone when solo live. Most of the amazing stuff that's happened to me, I would believe you. I've worked very hard my whole life to achieve stuff, but there's some things that are just like, wow, really? I couldn't have imagined that. I wouldn't have imagined Gene's solo band. I never would have imagined Gene going solo.
Yeah.
So I would, and playing an Aces band, like, I don't know, there's just, those things never would have occurred to me.
Of course,
Like,
and you got the Gene gig. It's crazy to get that gig, let alone it happened twice with fucking Ace, man. Like,
and I am aware and respectful of the fact that makes me of an extremely small percentile. Like winning the Powerball, there are better odds for that than
yeah, no,
getting
literally.
to be in Gene and Ace's solo bands. Like the two guys that made me want to play rock and roll. I mean, I love Paul and Peter, but like my hierarchy of Kiss was Ace, Gene, and then Peter and Paul. They kind of tied for third, but Ace and Gene were my guys.
Of course.
And it is. I
Gene is still one of the most recognizable rock stars universally. Like the Gene Simmons tongue thing. There's people that don't listen to a lick of rock and roll.
Well, Gene's a media star. Like Kiss just happens to be as big as thing, but I mean, like he's been very successful in media since the earliest days of Kiss. Like that Mike Douglas thing. Who's going out? I'll go, and Gene's always been okay with that, with being a little more than being in a rock band.
And that's the interview where there's an actress sitting next to him, correct? And she's like, what if there was a nice little Jewish boy under all that makeup? And Gene's like, oh, if you only knew, or something like that. That's great. And then, of course, the Mike Douglas show. I think it was the Dynasty tour whenever they all came out.
Oh, Tom Snyder. Yeah.
Tom Snyder. Fuck, I don't know why I messed that up, but Jesus, what a just fucking amazing interview that is. I can watch that. I could watch that once a day for the rest of my life, and I would still find it just as
honestly,
hilarious and awesome as.
Man, watching that's like watching Steve Carell movies to me. It makes me feel so uncomfortable. But it's hard to watch. Like watching Gene and Paul makes me feel so uncomfortable.
Now,
I have a tough time watching
Paul
it.
kind of plays along with it and acts like he's having a better time than he actually is. Like you get some uncomfortable laughs out of Paul where he's, trying to keep the mood the same. But Gene is just outright having like the worst fucking time of his life.
He absolutely
in that interview. It is. And then Ace is just having the time of his life, which I think is the funniest fucking part, is that you have one guy literally having the worst experience he could, and then Ace is just fucking having a ball. And I love the quote that you guys have that it's like, the only two things that Ace and Gene have in common is that they were in a band together. And that interview kind of personifies
all four of them. All four of them, man. Like they are the four most different dudes. Like I know Ace and Gene, but we've learned enough about Peter and Paul,
you
through the years that
go listen to
know,
Paul's
like,
audiobook.
Wow, these guys are nothing alike. How did they make it through rehearsal?
Well, they almost didn't to an extent. So, but thankfully we got some awesome fucking music out of those guys, and it's crazy how some of those contrasting personalities can still connect on a musical level that is just fucking otherworldly. Luckily, all four of us in the Minefield camp seem to get along pretty well, so I don't think we have to worry about some Tom Snyder interview instances with us.
Well, everybody's sober for the most part. That helps.
Yeah, it does help. I think I've had like 2 drinks of alcohol this entire calendar year, so That's a fucking record for me. And that wasn't something for me where I quit because I had like a fucking problem, you know. It's just like had some stomach issues and all that kind of good stuff, and the drinking just was not helping that in the fucking least bit. And you know, at some point when it's like, all right, I'm feeling worse than the good time I'm having while I'm drinking, and it just becomes, you know, they're not balancing each other out enough to make it worth it. Uh-oh. Jeremy froze again.
No, it's awesome. Like Minefield are a bunch of stable people.
Yeah.
So Minefield are pretty stable for the most part. I think we would travel well together.
Well, it's like you said, we're all dads.
Yeah, we got lots of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, what are our kids up to nowadays? It's
you know, I know how Todd and Matt are. How do you feel about coffee?
I love coffee. I fucking love coffee.
Right. Well, yeah. That'd be the coffee shop tour then. It'd be the coffee fucking band.
Hey, just book us a hotel right next to a Starbucks or something.
That's Matt. That's already Matt's MO. So.
Yeah, I know. He talks about that on his live videos all the time. He talks about meeting up for coffee all the time, and that's where he does some of his coaching sessions.
You know, for the rest of the Ace band crew, they're all about Panera Bread, so they seek out the Panera Bread. Luckily, there's usually a Starbucks close to Panera Bread, and then Matt's off to the Starbucks.
Nice. I can actually say that I've never eaten Panera Bread before.
I mean, you know, it's all right. It's got its highs, it's got its lows.
I've just always seen that meme on Facebook that it's like Panera is just overpriced hospital food. Not trying to lose out any sponsorship, so Panera, if you're listening, I will still take that endorsement any day. So.
Oh yeah. I like Panera. I got the gift card in my wallet.
Nice. You're spreading the love with the gift cards. That's great. So with Ace, if you could insert one song into the set list, what would it be? You got one choice.
One choice. Either Torpedo Girl or anything off the 78 solo album we don't already do.
Nice.
And we work on all that. The reason that I don't say Dark Light, because I would put that on there. I think what most people don't understand is that
the lyrics.
It's a novel. Every verse has a lot of words, and then every chorus is different. The only thing that repeats at all in the song is dark light. And then after that, every one of those words is different. So like the lyric sheet Ace would have to remember all that shit. And like I've played it and I got a pretty good memory, and I've listened to that song a lot more than Ace. I'm fairly certain about that. I can't even remember all those words. So
let's be honest, Ace, you could probably count on one hand the amount of times Ace has probably listened to that song.
Yes, I would put money on that.
Yeah.
So you know, I get why we can't do that song. It's just too much. It's a mouthful.
I love that you say Torpedo Girl though, because that is a fucking killer song, and something I didn't know until recently. That's Ace playing bass on that.
Yeah. So we did
fucking
that
killer bass on. Yeah.
We did that twice on the Kiss Cruise, and the second time we did it in the theater went really well. And for all those people that were bitching online, if you go watch that second performance, it's pretty good. Like I watched it and I'm like, God damn, that's awesome. If I was out in the crowd, I'd be like, fuck yeah.
I think the best part about the videos of you guys doing that, I think from the first performance of you doing it, is you can tell how you personally are genuinely excited about playing it, because when the intro music starts playing, you're fucking right along with it. It's cool to see people in the band as excited.
The cool thing
as
about
the
that
fans
first performance is I knew we were doing a lot of stuff that those fans out there were like digging. I mean, we came out and opened up with Save Your Love. I knew like as soon as those people heard those fucking intro chords, they were going to be like, yes. Look, man, me and Phil and Ryan, we know what Kiss fans want because we're fucking Kiss fans. Like,
absolutely.
I know what they want. So that was, we all knew what they were going to react very well to. And to Ace's credit, man, we picked up like 6 new songs that his band had never played for that cruise. And we did rehearse, contrary to what all those fucking people thought. we did rehearse all that stuff, and you know, like it was very brave of him to bite off that much and go into it with one rehearsal and play for those Kiss fans like that. And for the most part, all those people were really happy. You know, there was like a few sloppy things here and there, particularly on that first performance.
It's bound to happen, man.
You know,
And
we're being outdoors. It's kind of weird being outdoors on a ship and the wind is just blowing shit everywhere. And, you know, that was our first show as a band. I think people fucking forget that. Like, that was our first show. Like, I'd never played with Matt Starr prior to that, other than at rehearsal the day before.
I thought that
Bill's a bass player.
Didn't you guys do some shows with Matt Starr in Japan after the Australia run?
No, Christopher was on drums for the.
Okay, for some reason I thought that Matt Starr met up with you guys in Japan.
No, man, Christopher went to Japan with us, and Christopher was the drummer on that.
Gene was supposed to be on that tour in Japan.
No, that was never.
I thought originally that
part of the plan.
he was supposed to go to Japan as well, and then Gene backed out of the.
I read that, but that was never brought to us.
Okay.
We never knew anything about Gene going to Japan. I did read that, but honestly, I don't know if that's true, because
that had to be a crazy experience. You know, the first time you were actually playing with Ace in Australia, and then all of a sudden Gene's like, "All right, I'll see you guys later," and heads back to the States, and you guys get on the plane to Japan. That had to be just such a whole crazy, surreal experience.
And now we're Ace's band. Yeah. It absolutely was.
Yeah, man, and fucking, I'll always say congratulations on scoring both of those gigs, man.
Man, one of the greatest all-time moments of my life was hanging out in the airport with those two guys at the Australia dates and just being a fly on the wall while they hang out and talk about shit and talk about the past and just bullshitting and stuff, man. That was fucking priceless.
So would you say they were getting along really well on that tour?
Oh, yeah, man. They were getting along great. Really good.
Because, and I don't like touching on a lot of drama stuff on here. You know, I try to keep it casual and just a good time. But we all know about that, the Gloves Are Off post from that got posted on Ace's page. And Ace has since come out like here recently and basically said that was not him. And I think we all have a good idea of who that was that posted that. We're not going to get into that, but you know, it's always cool when you see shit like that, but then you hear stories like, no, when these guys are together, they're fucking buds. And you know, because dude, those guys experience shit that people will never have the opportunity to experience again.
And man, you know, like I've had to touch on this a little bit, you know, those guys, their stuff goes back farther than I've been alive.
Yeah.
And I'm 46. And
holy shit! No, I'm just kidding.
I'm just kidding. I'm actually 45. I'm turn 46 till next year. But you know, their baggage goes back that far, and you know, they've risen above it before, and then fell back into drama, and then like, man, their thing is so on and off. I can't comment on it. Like,
yeah,
it'd be stupid for me to even comment on it. You know,
it's shit that most people can't. Nobody can relate to that shit. You know.
Do they have some issues? Yes, they do. But do they have some stuff that bonds them together? You know, permanently for their entire lives?
Absolutely.
Yes, they do.
Because like I was saying, man, they experience something in the rock and roll world that will never come back around again, that no other band will ever be able to,
you know, I do feel very grateful. Like, you know, the first gig we did in St. Paul, you know, we kind of followed Ace out because we were chasing him to get him to sign something for us. But, you know, him and Gene kind of had their own little moment while everybody was just kind of standing around, you know, and I watched Gene look Ace in the eyes and tell him that he loves him very much. And, you know, like we all got, you know, a little tear jerked after that. That was fucking touching shit. So, you know, no matter what, those guys have a relationship. It goes up and down. And like I said, it'd be dumb for me to comment on that.
And that, man, that is that is just so fucking great that as being such a huge Kiss fan as you, Ryan, and Phil are, just getting to experience shit like that, just like you said, is basically a fly on the wall. That just has
And
to be
like we
fucking
respect
crazy,
their
man.
boundaries. Like,
Yeah.
we don't really talk about Gene with Ace, and we never, we didn't really work with Ace when we were with Gene, so we didn't really have him to talk about then. But
I'm really hoping that
Ace is a guitar player.
Yeah.
Don't really have anything to comment about their relationship because it's not mine to comment on.
Yeah, and their relationship is something that's not even relatable to 99% of the people on the planet. So, yeah. So that's just like I said. Those two have experienced shit together that's just never going to come back around for anybody to ever have the opportunity. So nobody can relate to that shit for the most part. But. So I know, dude, we've been on here for like almost 2 hours now. So I got one or two more things I want to touch on before we get out of here, and I'll take up too much of your time. So I know we touched on this a little earlier in the episode. We got Christmas 2020 coming up next fucking weekend. How crazy is that it's already fucking here next weekend, man?
It's kind of funny. I didn't even realize that until you said it out loud. To me, it's like 2 or 3 weeks away. But
yeah, no, it is the next fucking weekend, man.
Next weekend.
Yeah.
Man, I'm super, super impressed with how Neil has gone to the nth degree to, make sure everything is spaced properly and very safe. And, I sort of feel like he's trying to set a precedent with it. And,
Well, he talked about it the other night when I had him on. He was like, he thought about it wasn't just what they were allowed to do at the time. It's like his mindset was, what if COVID never goes away? He's like, how would it look in the future? Not just like, hey, this is only what we're allowed to do now.
I appreciate that very much,
Yeah, it is, because we've all seen stuff handled in the opposite direction. And, to each his own. I don't really want to comment on that too much. But,
Man, look, like the Talisman have gone out and done some sort of safe type things. We've been playing acoustically because – I don't know, it sort of feels like you can play an acoustic show and everybody could sit down and space out and still be cool versus playing, energetic live rock and roll where everybody wants to get up and, be close and stuff like that.
Yeah. I've been in both situations since the pandemic started. Very few.
But I do feel weird every time we play and I take a test as soon as I get home every time. And, I've been negative every time.
Nice.
And, we played as safe a game as possible. We wear our masks until we go on stage. We don't really do a lot of meet and greet stuff. And
not sharing any dirty needles. No, I'm just
actually, we've been taking our own microphones,
nice.
So we don't have to use strange mics and, do the best we can. And
that was one of the first things that I kind of, somebody asked me that kind of same question about, gigging post-COVID. And I was like, I can guarantee you that you will never see bands share microphones ever again after this is over.
No kidding. Yeah,
it's like that shit was already gross before COVID, man. It's like 10 years of bands spitting into a microphone at the same venue. It's like, I was just here last year and I know this is the same microphone that I used last time. And that no fucking Clorox wipe or anything has touched that fucking mic since you saw it 12 months prior.
Yeah. Well, if anything, it's definitely going to make the world a cleaner place.
Yeah, and man, that was something that kind of blew my mind in the beginning of this. I was just like, really? Who fucking needed to be told to stand 6 feet away from somebody in the line at the gas station? It's like, I love my personal space, so I feel like it would be fucking weird just in general if you're standing like a foot away from somebody, just basically breathing over their fucking neck. And it's like, did you really need to be told to wash your hands? It's like, yes, I understand a lot of people did need to be told that, but it's like you shouldn't. But a lot of people shouldn't need to be told a lot of things. But that's a whole other fucking episode.
Well, if that was a lesson, then that was a high fucking price to pay for that lesson.
Yeah, no shit. It's man. Hopefully, though, there's a lot of fucking tours that I've been seeing getting announced over the last like week or so, and you know,
I mean, like
You still don't know if these will fucking happen or not.
They're all being hopeful, and I get it. I appreciate it. Nobody can say for sure if any of that stuff's going to happen.
We'll see. Ohio
I remember when all of our stuff got postponed from earlier this year to late this year, and not happening.
Fuck, when Minefield, the whole thing started happening, we were talking about possibly doing a gig or two in October. We were like, October, fucking surely to God we might be able to do something by then, and now we're here almost the first of the fucking year and nothing. But Ohio just started their vaccine distribution, and Ohio just started their vaccine distribution, and the UK just approved the Pfizer vaccine, or however the fuck you say it. And, so I'm hoping by next summer we will see some normality back into everybody's life.
That will be the introduction. The whole thing can't get widespread for a while. So, me too. I'm hoping by summertime that restoration will start, because Lord knows I'm ready for it.
We'll see, man. And it's crazy because I'm a big NFL guy, and so I watch a lot of football, and it's crazy seeing shit like the fucking Dolphin Stadium at 50% capacity right now, and there's just we have 20 or 30,000 in attendance today, and I'm just sitting here on my couch, haven't played a gig in fucking months, and I'm just like, come on, man, fuck. And there's still the argument that's probably not a good idea, but it's still, you get that jealous feeling where it's like, I wish I could go out and do something like that, but there's still the argument that that's probably not the best thing to be doing at the moment.
Man, I've played a couple gigs through the COVID thing, and they were all kind of awkward sex. You haven't had sex in a long time, and you finally get some, and it felt amazing, but you weren't the best at it that you've ever been, because you hadn't done it in a while. You're just like, oh, I'm so awkward. It was kind of like that every time. You kind of lose your groove and your rhythm. You still know how to play and do it and stuff, and
just the overall feeling, it was just kind of the slight anxiousness in the air a little. That me and Phil got to. I think it's funny that me and Phil got to play a show together before me and you got to play a gig together.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
It was kind of that. It was kind of a weird atmosphere, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that off the air, and I'm sure you've heard about that. But there's just always this. There's I don't want to say a gray cloud over everything, but it's just it's like you're waiting for a tornado about to fucking happen at any fucking moment, and I've played the gigs. I would say this, I've probably only played maybe six or seven gigs since the pandemic started, and I've seen both ends of the spectrum. I have seen where venues take it fucking seriously, and the people are fantastic at following the fucking rules, and it's cool. And then I've been on the fucking opposite end of the spectrum where it's just, it's what fucking year is it again right now?
Yeah, you're like, COVID party.
Yeah, fuck yeah, man. And then it's you see the bands getting fucking chastised and shit on fucking social media, and because it was I will say this, if I can say one thing about the show that me and Phil did together, and the clip is still out there, anybody can go watch it. It's of us playing Sweet Child from that night, and I posted it on Facebook, and one of the fucking comments on one of the groups that got fucking posted in was, he's like, the music sounds fucking good, but what the fuck, guys? What the fuck are you doing? And it's just dude, we're just the fucking musicians. You can't, yes, we are the reason people are there, but we can't fucking do crowd control while we're on fucking stage for an hour and a half, So I've seen both ends of the spectrum, and it's definitely, there's just a kind of chaotic, anxious feel to the whole thing. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that sometime in the near future we can kind of get back into the swing of things. Because I'm looking forward to possibly playing some gigs with the Minefield camp. We've got an awesome fucking record that I want people to fucking hear.
Can you imagine? I know my guitar parts. I don't even have to fucking learn them.
Yeah.
I made up the harmonies. I know those too.
Yeah. And it's one funny thing. I want to talk about Christmas a little more because Neil's just an awesome guy, and I know we're all fucking stoked about that. I think one of the other funny things about this event is me and Todd have never actually fucking been in the same room. Besides when
No,
I saw
but
Slash opened
man,
up for Aerosmith, and
I gotta publicly give you and him some credit, man. You guys turned out some really good fucking songs together. Like for never having met and to write that, like the thing for a band to have our tunes. Like, yeah, we have these credentials and this, that, and the other, but like if there weren't any songs, that would amount to shit.
yeah.
So the songs are really fucking strong, and you should be very, very, very proud of yourself, my friend, because
Well,
you guys,
I appreciate it.
I mean, the tune it starts there. So if you didn't have any songs, I'd just be playing over what the fuck ever.
And Todd's talked about that as well. He's like, some things like this have come up in people's past, like, these kind of projects or whatever you want to call them, where it's like, yeah, if you're not really feeling it or whatever, you might do a song and then it just kind of goes away, just kind of dissipates into the air and it's kind of forgotten. But he's like, these are some really good fucking tunes. And he's like, it's kind of a whole different experience because, the four of us have never actually been in the same fucking room, let alone me and Todd, who did a lot of the heavy lifting as far as the lyrics and the music goes. We've never fucking hung out before. So,
and everybody's kind of producing themselves and deciding what parts are yeah, it was a really good experience.
And that's the crazy part too, is because, in some band situations, I know we've all been there before. It kind of seems like an uphill battle sometimes just to finish one song, let alone fucking 10. But all four of us on this record, 99% of the stuff that all of us brought to the table when we added our parts to the song, we were like, that's fucking it. That is what needs to be there. So it's crazy. We got to think technology and shit like this to where, even just 10 years ago, doing something like this it's not really as fathomable as it is nowadays.
Yeah. And like, man, even though there's some overdubs and stuff in there, like everything's pretty stripped down for the most part. Like playing it live would not sound that much different than the way it turned out. So it's kind of like, what if you put these dudes in a room together and, they wrote this record, and that's pretty much exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, I would say it's really live for a non-live album,
Yeah, totally is.
Because you did a lot more like overdubs on the guitars, like adding guitar parts than I did.
Man, like,
and,
because you wrote the riffs, and like, the riff is kind of like the heart of the music. So, if that's there, and then, Todd writes, the vocal, the melody part of it, those are what makes the tune.
Yeah.
So if you want me to play other guitar parts, then it's sort of my job to color all that in and just to add texture and make sure that your riff is, like kind of what supports the melody, which is the heart of the song, and to not color over that.
Absolutely. And what I was going to say is, I would say on basically every song on the album, I basically have two guitar tracks on every album, my rhythm and then whatever lead I played. And so my rhythm track, it would be basically one take of me playing from the beginning of the song all the way to the end, just on that one fucking track. So, when people think of the concept of the record where, we all fucking recorded in 4 different studios on 4 different parts of the earth, and there's a click track to it. But when you add in elements like that, it's not really like one of those fucking overproduced albums where there was a lot of direction and shit like that. And when you take into account, like, Matt probably recorded 80% of the fucking album without hearing any of the fucking vocals.
Yeah.
It was just literally, him hearing the record now that it's done is the first time he's probably heard most of these fucking actual songs, because he would cut literally all these songs just to basically a shitty scratch guitar track from me. And dude, I think that's a fucking testament to how much ass Matt kicks as a drummer, that he made
totally
it so fucking cohesive without having an actual song to cut them to. So kind of staying on topic with the Minefield thing, I asked Todd the same question when I had him on last week. Besides the two singles, Home and Alone Together, pick your 3 favorite tracks off the record.
Well, if you'd asked me a couple days ago, I couldn't answer, but I've been listening down to all those mixes that you sent. And, man, I don't know, but I can pick a couple that I didn't expect to surprise me of how much I like them so much. And Rockstar, I didn't expect to like that song so much. Like it was good when I was cutting it, but like when I listened back to the mix,
it's fucking killer, man.
It's pretty badass.
Well, thank you. Since that's one of the tunes, anybody doesn't know, that's one of the tunes I sing on the record.
Yeah, you know what, Brandon? I'm going to publicly give you some credit. Like your voice as a lead singer, you've got a lead singer quality to your voice. Like, I don't really feel that way about my voice. I'm a good singer. I have great control. I have great control over my voice, and I can sing lead. I don't really think I have like that character that's necessary to be a lead singer. But man, you've got a very lead singer quality to your voice.
Well, that fucking means a lot.
You should definitely be grateful for that, because man, you can't learn that. You either have it or you don't.
What I can say about that is I definitely have had the pleasure of being able to dial that in with my 3-piece. Because as anybody that knows me before the Minefield project and my GNR tribute, outside of that, I've got my 3-piece, we have original music. But primarily, we would tour and go do 3-4 nights a week of literally 3-4 nights a week of these 3-4 hour fucking cover shows. And we're a 3-piece. And I sang everything in the entire show besides maybe 3 or 4 songs.
And man, like the residency, that's how I got good at singing lead too. But even still, like, like you could be a good lead singer, but you're either born with some whatever that characteristic is, or you're not, and you're lucky you have a thing that's, I don't know, unique and sounds appealing as a lead singer, not just like, oh, that guy sings good. It's like, no, that guy has a good voice.
Well, that fucking
got a good voice.
That's one of the best compliments I've ever gotten, because I even told you the other day when we were getting these mixes back, I was like, dude, I'm still self-conscious on studio recordings about my voice.
Oh, well, that never goes away.
Man, it's more of just like I said, I could go do these 4-hour gigs 3-4 nights a week where I'm singing fucking 40 songs a night, and I'm fine. There's no fucking issue with that at all. But man, fucking stick me in a fucking vocal booth in a studio with the pop filter and the headphones, and it's just so fucking unnatural and forced to me, where I get that fucking red light syndrome, where it's like you're about to sing that first word and you're just beyond fucking nervous, and you don't know if you're going to come in completely off pitch or something like that. So singing in the studio is something that still is a fucking growing process to me. And I have to give Anthony fucking credit too for making my vocals sound as good as they fucking do on this record. And
that's like I told you a couple of days ago, man, like we're guitar players that sing. We're not singers that play guitar.
Yeah, of course. And, I appreciate that compliment. But you listed off Rockstar. Give me 2 other tracks on the album.
Actually, the latest one, Day by Day, I thought it was all right. It's a decent song. But then when I heard the mix and everything in there, I'm like, yeah, man, this song's really good.
Todd's comment on that was, me and Todd did that song the exact same way me and you did So Help Me, where I just I came up with a riff, and then I was like, here, you write the song off of this riff. And that's what Todd did with Day by Day. I wrote that intro riff on it. And Todd's comment whenever I originally sent it to him, he's like, dude, he's like, that sounds like something that could be on like Dress to Kill. So that was a good compliment for me. As you know, I kind of like Kiss a little bit. So third track.
Yeah, let's see. Third track.
Man, for me, I'd say you got to say So Help Me, dude.
I'm going to give that one an honorable mention, but I'm not actually going to give that a number 3 because well, I'll talk about it in a second. Actually, the third one is My Disease. I had not heard the vocal. I had not heard that one. When you gave the track, I didn't have a vocal record, so I never heard the vocal until I had the mix back. And I told you, in that message, like that song to me was like Leonard Skinner's Simple Man played by Black Sabbath.
Yeah, that's because for anybody that doesn't know, the song Rockstar on the album was written by my dad, and he played the solo on it. And when I sent him the demo for My Disease, whenever I was kind of, the bare bones part of it in the early days, he was like, man, that's like a fucking Sabbath riff. And the other day when I sent him the mixes to check out, he's like, that Sabbath riff still fucking kicks ass. And it totally sounds, it's got that fucking Tony Iommi feel in it. And I keep trying to think of a fucking Sabbath song or riff that it reminds me of. And I can't think of any actual riff it reminds me of. It's just, you can hear the Tony Iommi influence on that.
And I can't really mention So Help Me because I had the biggest hand in writing that, and I'm not surprised by it because I fucking wrote it. I helped build it from the ground up, so it's not very surprising, and it'd be very self-serving to pick that song over the others when I heard them, like, man, that turned out kick ass,
Yeah. But it did. It's fucking killer.
Man, the thing about So Help Me was I was really grateful you asked me to do that because, I don't really sit around and write a lot, and it kind of like pulled me out of whatever, and man, it just came so fast. It's like I didn't even try. Like you gave me the riff, and next thing I knew, I had the whole song except for the verse lyrics.
I've never told you this before, but I asked you to do that before I had the riff. So I asked you if you were interested in doing something like that. And then literally the second that you texted me, yeah, man, I was like, well, fuck, now I have to come up with something for him to do it with.
And then that riff, I just like, that sounds like that could be a Thin Lizzy type thing. I'll make some Thin Lizzy harmony.
It's got a very Thin Lizzy type feel to that song.
And the song that I was trying to write the whole time was like a Cheap Trick Thin Lizzy song. And,
nice.
Maybe I came close, maybe I didn't, but I'm pretty happy with it. Like,
well, hey, we've gotten the Cheap Trick comparison already. The very awesome Chris Jericho, his comment on Alone Together was that it sounded like a combination of Cheap Trick and King's X.
Awesome. Well, damn. I mean, I'd check that out.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, that's two of my favorite bands. So that's a fucking awesome compliment.
No, I'm stoked about holding a vinyl record in my hand one day and being able to throw that on the turntable.
Yeah. And man, I have to give Todd fucking kudos for My Disease because I was originally supposed to sing that song. And I was, I came up with the verses. I had the verses, which I'm still kind of satisfied with those verses that I wrote for it. I might try to fit those into another song down the line one day. But the music on that track is just fucking awesome. I'm not to float my own boat, but it's a good fucking tune.
It's epic.
Yeah. And I kept fucking listening to it when I got stuck trying to write a chorus for it. And I was like, man, it would be a goddamn shame if I ruin this fucking song with my half-ass vocals on this. And then I asked Todd, it was towards the end of the record when we were finishing all this up. I was like, hey man, what if you sing this song? And it was without a doubt the right thing to do.
It's pretty moving and powerful, no doubt.
That riff is fucking killer, man.
Yeah.
And it's got that intro section that is just, you don't hear it again in the song. And it's crazy how that part is so different from the rest of the track, but it just fucking fits together flawlessly going into that fucking main riff.
No, I got good at doing harmonics in those verses.
Dude, I fucking love that.
I was tapping out all of those harmonics, and I was a little bit of a bitch.
Yeah, it's fantastic though, and I have to give you thanks again, and I've given you thanks a million times, because if it wasn't for you, none of this shit would be happening. So I owe you a lot of fucking thanks, man, and I'll never fucking be able to repay you for all the awesome shit you've thrown my way and just being a good friend to me for no other reason than you're just a fucking fantastic guy.
Like, you know, you've really done all the work, you know, like, you know, you can give people a budget or you can give them whatever, but that doesn't mean that they're going to turn in results or whatever. And like, you know, not everybody can put all of this together. I mean, it's not a fucking piece of cake, and you know, it all worked and came together. You know, I'm like proud of you for doing that. And not everybody can do it. You can't just do it. Like, there's factors involved, and I don't know, man. Great job. I mean, it all worked. I mean, just because you put the team together doesn't mean you're going to have the tunes. Just because you have the tunes doesn't mean you have the team. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of fucking intricate things that fucking came together and, you know, made some magic.
Yeah, and man, it's a well-rounded project from all four of us, and I gotta say 5, because me and Todd were talking. It's like, if there's an unofficial 5th member of Minefield, it's fucking Alex Kane, and yeah. Alex might have played the best fucking solo on the record, and I genuinely fucking mean that. I fucking love Alex's solo on the track he played on. And
so what did he play on again? I'll have to listen. I've listened to the whole record, but I guess I didn't know which one was actually his.
Lady Danger.
Okay.
The second half of the solo is what's, I mean, once you hear the solo now, it's very obvious the first half is me. Because I'm sure at this point you've gotten accustomed to kind of how my leads are going to sound. And, you know, you can hear the Slash influence all over my fucking leads. I'm not shy about that. So, not saying I play as well as Slash, but you can definitely hear that I fucking listen to a lot of Guns N' Roses when you listen to my lead playing. And, but, you know, Alex played that second solo on that, and the end of the song, at the very end of the song, those fucking crazy fucking things you're hearing, like guitar parts in the background, it sounds like basically like fucking bombs are going off and sirens and shit. That's all Alex doing that shit as well. And that was kind of my idea with that tune whenever I asked Alex to do it, was I wanted you to do that. You've got that kind of solo in the beginning of the song. It's not, well, that lead part, because it's not really like an 8-bar fucking solo, you know, it's just that little, that it's still a lead, but all 3 of us have a fucking lead in that song. So I thought that was a cool concept.
I thought that song sounded like early Motley Crue.
Oh, hey man, I'll take that fucking that reference any day. And Eric Jake did a fucking awesome job singing those verses on that. It's funny because like when I sent the mixes to my mom and dad, and I've had a friend or two over at the house, they think that's fucking me singing the verses on Lady Danger. And I'm always like, nope, that's my buddy Eric Jake from this band called Wild Street. So Anthony did a fucking fantastic job with his vocals on that, making them sound killer. I don't know if you've listened to Wild Street much, but it's very 80s rock kind of, you know, that kind of concept. And so when I wrote that riff, I was like, what better person to hit up about doing some vocals on this track?
Well, that was a good choice. He did a great job, and that was a perfect song.
That song has more people on it than any other song on the record. That has me, you, Matt, and Todd, and Alex, and Eric. So there are 6 performers on that song. Actually,
That's gonna be a crowded stage one day doing that song.
well, now Wild Street is our label mates on Golden Robot. They ended up signing to them. It wasn't long after I asked Eric to do the feature, and he said it in interviews before. And when he was talking to me, he's like, well, when you were talking to me, he's like, you said you were working with Golden Robot. So I decided to reach out to him and ended up with them inking a fucking deal with them. And they're doing awesome numbers, which they already did awesome numbers anyway. But like, I think their music video for their first single that they put out on Golden Robot the music video's been out for 10 days now, and it's already got like 110,000 plays on YouTube.
Well, that ought to make the label happy.
Yeah, fuck yeah. And Mark's such an awesome guy, and you know that he's very enthusiastic about all the music that he puts out. It's not like he's just pumping shit out to pump it out. He fucking is a fan of everything he puts out. So we'll kind of wrap this up here. We've been on here for quite a while.
Yeah, I'm outside. I'm freezing my balls off right now.
Yeah, I know you're dressed up for it, man. So
man, I can't do these in the house, man. I've got a 5-year-old and a newborn. That just ain't happening in there. I got to come out here.
It's you could go in a bedroom, but it'd be like having cats. They'd just be clawing under the door the whole time.
Man,
and banging on it.
You hear my baby crying and my son raising hell.
It's okay, man. Trust me. Like you said, all 4 of us in Minefield are dads. We all know how that shit is. With no
quarantine parents, man. Let me hear you.
Yeah, fuck yeah. There should be a stimulus check for us just alone.
No shit.
So before we get out of here, give everybody a brief rundown on what you're going to be doing at Christmas 2020 this year, since it's coming up next week.
Christmas 2020. So we are the Talisman. That's me, Phil Schaus, Ryan Cook. We are doing an acoustic set of Kiss songs. And I think that's all we're doing that first night. The second night, we're doing Rock and Roll Over in its entirety. And then we will be joined by Jean Beauvoir. And he co-wrote some Kiss songs, like a whole night. We're going to do that.
He played on some as well.
He might have. I think he played some bass on Animalized.
Yep, he played bass on 2 tracks on Animalized, Thrills in the Night, and I can't think of the other one.
I can't either. So he's going to join us. Rick Derringer is going to join us for a mini set also, and we're going to also do some Kiss rarities.
I am so excited about, because Neil's already spilled the beans. I am so fucking excited about seeing Rick play Exciter live, man.
Yeah. First time ever.
Yeah.
I bet even he hopes he remembers it.
Well, it's like, I think Neil even said whenever he's talked to him, he hasn't played that song like since ever live, but like even just sitting around, I don't think he's ever like even just jammed it since he left the studio that day.
Absolutely. I mean, I probably wouldn't if I was him either.
I think it's so crazy that they brought in Rick Derringer to play that solo. And I said this before, and I was talking to Neil, and it's not that Rick Derringer isn't a fucking awesome guitarist. It's that
when Kiss.
Yeah, when you think of especially the Lick It Up Kiss, like Exciter, that's a really heavy fucking tune. When you think of that type of guitar playing, you're not really thinking of Rick Derringer, and that's no disrespect to Rick Derringer, but that seems a little out of his element for sure.
Yeah, I'd like to learn how that all came to pass.
Well, we will learn that at Christmas. Yeah. And
you're right. You're absolutely right.
Because he'll be talking about that. And I actually heard a demo the other day with Vinny's solo on it, and Vinny's I love the Vinny Vincent era Kiss. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Those Creatures of the Night, I know he wasn't on the whole record, and Lick It Up, I fucking love Lick It Up. So I enjoyed the lead that I heard on the demo, but it's crazy because I feel like they did make the right choice having Rick Derringer play it.
Yeah, well, I'd like to hear that demo sometime. That sounds pretty cool.
I'll link you up whenever we get off here.
I'm stoked to jam with Rick Derringer. I'm gonna get to play Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo with Rick Derringer. Kick ass.
Hey, awesome. I'm stoked to jam with you, man.
Yeah, man. And you. I didn't get to mention that. Brandon's gonna do. Are you guys playing acoustic?
No, we're now doing full band. It is. We are doing full band. I think we are doing the outside stage during one of the dinners, but it's still
Well, if you're doing full band, then I'm definitely playing guitar on All American Band.
okay. That's the opening track. So
Yeah.
yeah, and we just talked about it today. We're doing the
I
solo.
mean, what are you gonna play All American Band with one guitar? How are you gonna?
No, well, no, it's me and Kurt are both playing guitar and splitting
Oh,
the
I got you.
vocals. Yeah, me and Kurt are both playing guitar and splitting the vocals. Garrett Ramsden from my GNR tribute is playing drums for us. Which
Well, then
Garrett,
I should definitely play on that since it's on the Minefield record.
it's the opening track, and Phil's playing bass on that. So
Yeah.
I don't think too many people are gonna fucking hear this because, dude, we're 2.5 hours deep in the interview. If people are still listening at this point, they deserve to learn this information. So the two songs we're opening with that night are All American Man, and then we're going into Larger Than Life. And Phil's playing bass on those first two songs of the night with us. So yeah, you're more than fucking welcome to jump on stage with us and play guitar. But we are doing full band electric for that. So we'll make it happen.
All right, sounds good. I'm losing my earbuds now. They're running out of power. We've been talking so long.
Well, that's cool. We're about to wrap it up anyway. I just wanted you to kind of brief everybody on what you were doing at Christmas and anybody that's.
Here's what we need to tell everybody. They need to go to meethook.live and buy yourself a ticket to our streaming performance.
Yeah, and it's not like Neil Davis has said, it's not somebody just standing there with an iPhone. They have an actual production crew coming who work for MTV on one of their reality shows. So it's going to be really good fucking quality. Man, and Eddie Trunk's hosting.
You got Brandon and his band doing stuff with a bunch of us joining them. You got Eddie Trunk hosting. You got Enough is Enough playing live.
And fucking Bruce Kulick and Todd Kearns, man.
Bruce Kulick and Todd Kearns doing an acoustic set. And,
I told Neil that might be what I'm fucking most excited about is seeing Bruce and Todd's acoustic set, man. And I asked Todd when he was on here, I was like, you don't have to give any names, but I was like, can we expect like some shit that you have never played with Bruce Kulick before live? And he's like, oh yes, absolutely. So
yeah, they're pretty good about, making the fans happy.
Dude, I will say this, and I've said it before, I've never been on the Kiss Cruises, so when the footage is all being uploaded on like Blabbermouth and all that shit after the Kiss Cruises, the footage I am always fucking most excited for in the most recent years is the footage from fucking Bruce's band whenever they play. And that's no disrespect to anybody else or Kiss that's on that cruise, but dude, those fucking shows they play are fucking fantastic.
Try going on after those guys.
Fuck that, man! You couldn't pay me to do that.
I had to do that.
Man, that is. I'm sorry. That had to be a fucking trip. But you know that, man. I tell Todd this all the time. I still go fucking watch that set that they did with Bob and Bruce that first year they were on the cruise. I still watch that at least fucking once a month, I'd say. That is.
Do you see me and Phil singing backup on?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You guys got to fucking perform.
Hey,
yeah.
One really funny thing about that is before that happened, Bruce came over and it's like, hey, thanks you guys for doing this. So like, don't do any funny dances or anything like that.
Oh man!
Don't worry, man. I'm not gonna dance. I'm a terrible dancer.
No, it was literally just you and Phil fucking rocking out while you're singing those fucking background vocals.
Yeah, we walk out, sing the background vocals,
and then run off stage. Yeah, it was fucking killer. And that had to be killer just to, not only witness that from the fucking side of the stage, but get to do those backup vocals, because that is a fucking awesome performance, man.
He'd look back every now and then and flash us a smile.
That has to be one of my favorite Kiss related sets of all fucking time, man. And they come out and open up with All American Man, and Bob does the fucking solo where he grabs the fucking string off the fucking neck. So it's fucking killer. But we'll go ahead and wrap this up for everybody now. Kissmas2020.com, meethook.live.
.live.
And That's where you can get all your information and your tickets. It's only $12 for the entire weekend. That's not each night. That's $12. You get to watch both fucking nights.
Yeah, a lot of
Basically,
cool stuff to see.
basically the whole event is being live streamed. I don't, from my understanding, it's not just like the final performances each night. It's,
It's the whole thing.
it's the whole fucking thing. So you were getting to experience it as you were actually fucking there enjoying it with everybody. And I am beyond fucking stoked myself. I told this to Ryan the other night when I was texting him. I was like, it's still surreal to me that this is the first Kiss Expo I've ever been to, and let alone going to one. I'm getting to fucking play at one, and I'm fucking singing lead vocals and playing lead guitar at a fucking Kiss Expo. It's fucking very surreal, and I'm
See, you're kind of lucky that it's not the normal thing where all the vendors are there, because you spend all your time at the vendor tables spending all your fucking money.
well, there's still going to be some shit there. So that's what Todd told me the other night whenever he was on here. He's like, Brandon, if I know you well enough, he's like, take 2 suitcases.
Yeah.
And
It really is like that. No shit, it really is.
Yeah. Luckily, I'm driving down, so I'll have my car that I can just load fucking tons of awesome Kiss shit into. I told Neil that I've got to buy some fucking live stream tickets just so I can have a chance at winning that fucking Axe base. But all right, Jeremy Asbrock, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on here and giving me some of your time. Like a lot of your fucking time, actually. This was a lot of fun. Even though we had some technical difficulties, it's okay. We still had a good time, and I hope everybody that's listening had a good time. So thank everybody for tuning in and hanging out with us. I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream. Me and you can say goodbye off air. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight.
All right.